All right, y'all, what's going on? It's Combo Breaker 99 back with my post-fight discussion video on the biggest fight of the decade, Errol Spence Jr. versus Terence Crawford. All right, y'all, had to take some time for this one because I had to come down off of the high, and I got my fight hangover. You know, whenever I have these nights with boxing and UFC, I got to come down from that fight high, man, and, you know, I'll be coming down crashing, so that fight hangover is something serious, y'all. Man, and, you know, I was up into the wee hours of the morning, you know, just watching videos and, you know, checking out the fights again and, you know, watching other streams and discussing it with other people as well. You know, I was on my live stream last night. Shout out to everybody that came out. You know, I was calling the fight and, you know, discussing it with everybody. So, yeah, you know, I was up late. So now I got to get my thoughts together and do this quick post-fight discussion. Errol Spence Jr. versus Terence Crawford for Undisputed. First off, I got to say shout out to Terence Crawford, man. 2-division undisputed champion now, 140 and 147. He's something special. He is something special now. I mean, when you're going to mention special fighters, you're going to put him up there with those guys like Floyd Mayweather, Sugar Ray Leonard, Andre Ward, all of those special pound-for-pound guys that could just come in, make adjustments, and just totally dominate their opponents. I mean, Floyd had his ways, Andre Ward had his ways, but now we got Terence Crawford, who is like a mixture of today's era fighter and a throwback fighter. You know, he puts it all together very well. And, you know, going into this fight, I was torn. You know, I was torn. On paper, it was 50-50. You know, one has the most belts. He's done a lot of work in Errol Spence. Then this guy over here, he's always dominated his competition, but it was just a competition that was always in question, right? But when you look at a guy like Terence Crawford, and even after this fight, and this is something I've always said about Terence Crawford because I compare him to some of the MMA champions I look at that are dominant. You know, Terence Crawford, he doesn't just prepare for a fight. He doesn't prepare to put on a good fight. He prepares to be a better fighter. All right, that's the difference there. You know, it's like I say, whenever guys, they come to be, you know, this type of warrior to put on fight of the night, no. Terence Crawford is the kind of guy that wants to be fighter of the year. He wants to be fighter of the decade. He wants to be fighter of the century, fighter of all time, right? That's what he wants to be, you know. So the way Terence Crawford prepares for a fight, he prepares to look good. He's looking to destroy his opponent. And that's the one thing. He's always dominated and knocked his opponents out. There were just those moments where he would leave himself open. And I say, okay, if he fights Errol Spence like this, he's going to give Errol a chance. Granted, he has a chance to catch Errol and win. I was playing all those scenarios out, right? He could do what he's done in the Porter fight, still come back and win. You know, Errol might be winning, but then, boom, Terence Crawford's competitiveness and his killer instinct is going to bring him that to win the fight. But this one here, man, the way he did it, the way he prepared, the way he came in, I should have known, man. Like, when I saw that fish net, I was like, uh-oh. You know, because you know when a guy knows that this is going to be easy work and he's prepared to really show out. There's sometimes guys, you know, they put up the big front. They're all loud. They come to the ring or to the cage making all this noise. You know, they come in with the gimmick and everything, roaring loud and with, you know, big costumes and bright, flashy clothes on. They come in there. Sometimes they'll win, but sometimes if they're facing a tough opponent like that, that's just like a front. They're going to lose. But something about the way Bud came in with that fishing net, it was like, okay, he calls himself the big fish and everybody thinks he's going to win. Well, this is just icing on the cake, right? I'm going to show y'all what I can do. I'm going to show you what I'm truly like when I'm turned on, right? Bud's always been turned on, but in this fight, he was just so tight, man. He was just too tight. And by tight, I don't mean like, you know, he was, just tight and he couldn't move or anything like that, or like he was frozen in this fight. No, I mean, everything was tight. His defense was tight. His jab was tight. Everything, footwork, he was prepared. He tightened up on everything is what I'm saying. Bud, he came in here looking better than his past performances. And that's how he treated this. He said, I'm not going to give him that advantage. Spence is probably watching tapes on me thinking that I'm going to fight like Porter, like the Porter fight, or fight like the Mean Machine fight where he could catch me. No, I'm not even going to be like that. I'm beyond that. You know, I can turn my skills up. And, you know, that's when you see as a special fighter. Like, you know, even with Floyd Mayweather have his times when he would walk a guy down or he would take time to become a puncher, become a combination puncher. But then he could turn into a defensive wizard. He could mix it up. And now you're starting to see the tools on Bud. And that's what all I was saying before. Like, Bud has a lot of tools, but, have they been used against this type of level of a fighter? And now we know, clean sweep, all 9 rounds I gave to Bud Crawford in this fight. Errol Spence Jr., like I said, I think he prepared just for this fight, thinking that Terence Crawford was just preparing for another fight as well, maybe a big fight, but not really preparing to be a better fighter. That's where Errol lacked. Errol, to me, didn't show that he could be a better fighter. He was just coming to be better tonight, but not better overall. But like what Terence Crawford did is going to carry over into his next fight and into his next fight and just into the history books, because he was just that dominant, that sound, defensively sound, offensively sound, and just on his game. I mean, wow. That's all I had to say was just wow, when it came down to it, of how he put on such a great performance. I mean, even the first round I couldn't give to Spence. I thought right away you could already see in the body language and in range, the distance management from Terence Crawford. It was on point. But it was that second round knockdown, man. I know it was the second round, and you still got 10 more rounds to go, but whenever Bud landed that shotgun jab right over the shoulder of Errol Spence and right on the temple, and he goes down, you could see it in Errol's face that he wasn't prepared for this. He was not prepared. Like, he looked shocked. Like, whatever he said when he was getting up, you could see it in his eyes and, just in his overall body language. Like, he was hurt. He was hurt mentally, and his ego was hurt. So going into that third round, the only thing he really had was to try and pressure and push Bud back. Bud's lateral movement was too much. The fighting off the back foot, the punches, those straight left hands that were cracking him on the side of the head, right over his guard, getting him to just drop his hand, and he would come back with the shotgun jab. He just beating him up with the right jab. And that's what was crazy. Like, really, if you tied Bud's left hand behind his back, he still would have beat Errol Spence, just off of that one jab, that shotgun jab. And that's like the strength of being like a right-handed southpaw. What I mean is a right-handed person in real life, where you write with your right hand, but you fight like a southpaw. He's got the advantage of that strength, that strength in his jab. It's a strong right hand, but the left hand is also powerful. That shows you that Terence Crawford really trains both sides well. So when he comes in, he's equally as powerful on both sides. It's not just like a regular power jab. It's a straight right hand plus a straight left hand. So if you got both of those, you're in trouble. You know what I mean? Your opponent's in trouble. So Spence taking the combination of a triple right hand and then getting hit with the left hand, he's getting just like bombarded. He's getting concussed in there with these heavy shots. So that's just how the beating went, man. Like, from the knockdown in round 2 on to round 9, he got knocked down 2 more times, round 8, right? He was just purely just in there trying to fight off of his spirit. He was trying, he threw a couple combinations. He landed like one left hand in this fight on Terence Crawford, but it didn't really faze him, Even the body shots, the body shots were all blocked on the elbows. Again, I got to give Crawford credit. He was tightened up on his defense. Throwback style, good throwback stance in this fight, where his elbows were soundly tight, hands always ready to catch punches and always ready to counter and just land that stiff, hard jab. So, overall, just complete dominance by Terence Crawford going into that 9th. I mean, he let that accumulation go on to Errol Spence trying to roll with shots, but he was taking big shots. Ref had to step in and stop it. And that's how it just had to be. If the corner wasn't going to stop it, let the ref make the call, the doctor make the call, because at this point, he was really getting hurt in there. I mean, when he really started to bleed in round 4 or 5, I believe, and his eyes were so glazed over, I think, he was always a sitting duck to get knocked out at that point. But Bud, I think he just wanted to prove a point. Bud wanted to prove a point to, not just his opponent, but to the people that counted him out. He wanted to go in there, put in some rounds, show you that I can handle this big, strong guy for at least 4 more, 5 more rounds, and I'm going to close the show. And that's how Bud usually does. He's a showstopper, right? So, yeah, shout out to Bud Crawford again. Errol, much respect for, taking the fight. And that's what I want to say about Errol real quick. Errol, Errol, people are making fun of Errol now. You know, people, they got to chill out. Like, there's always some with boxing fans. That's the thing. Even like the hardcore fans, everybody wants to still take a dig at somebody. They find something. Boxing fans are fickle, man, because first off, if Errol didn't take the fight, they would say he ducked, right? They would call him a coward. But now that he did take the fight and he lost, people would say, oh, he's a loser, he's this, he's that. But no, Errol's a warrior. He just didn't have the skill set to hang. There's levels to it. So, I'm not going to knock Errol on this one. I'm not going to call him a coward. I'm going to diss him. I'm going to critique him. I'm going to give constructive criticism. I'm going to critique him on what he did wrong in this fight and what he lacks. But when it comes down to just straight making fun of him and, saying, oh, I told you so. Nobody can really say I told you so going into any fight. Nothing's really proven until it happens. And that's what I said with this one. It's 50-50. And whenever Crawford shows up or Spence shows up, then we'll have our answer, right? Nobody really knows until that bell rings and the fight is over. So, yeah, man, moving forward from here, I just think that, Bud Crawford, he's done it all now. He's kind of in that Andre Ward situation where if he wanted to, he could retire undefeated. That's it. There's nothing really left to prove. He's actually done a little bit more than Andre Ward, 3-division world champion, 2-time undisputed, 2-division undisputed. So what else is there for him? Nothing really, right? He could go to 154 and become 3-division undisputed, but it's not really something he needs, but I think he could do it. I think he could beat Jamel. Errol Spence said he would want the rematch by the end of the year. Oof, I don't think so, man. I don't think he would want that. That's not a good look because it's just the weight. I mean, Terence proved that it's more than weight. It's defense, skills, and just levels to it, man. He'll just go back in and take another beating, possibly get beat worse because, hey, Terence Crawford won't have a rough weight cut either, He's going to come in stronger, more powerful, I believe. And speaking of strength, too, I'll probably do another video on it, but the physical strength of Terence Crawford, you got to give him credit, man. The physical strength was off the charts. And, that's one thing I love about, strong boxers, like they can move guys. And that's one attribute I think a lot of my favorite fighters have, Ali, Ward, Holyfield, Mayweather. They all have that physical strength where it's not just about power, but it's about moving guys and, putting your weight on them and wearing them down and just getting stronger and stronger in the later rounds, So, yeah, overall, man, good performance. I enjoyed it. Like I said, it was just one of those fights where you're like, oh, man, like you get tensed up, what's going to happen? But the way it played out was just like, wow, man, this was like Mayweather versus Gotti. And, that's almost bad to say because, I think Errol's a better fighter than Gotti, man. But if Crawford can make Spence look like Arturo Gotti in there, like Mayweather did, man, that just shows you how good he really is. So, yeah, that's all I got on this one, guys. This is part 1. I'll be back to discuss the fight a little bit more. Make sure y'all subscribe. Combo Breaker 99. I'm out. Peace.